Members, you should be looking at your mics. If you ask to speak, the reason the mics are there is so that you're able to see them and speak. The Honorable Madenge.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand to support the motion by Honorable Luku on the policy on JSS. It is important, Honorable Speaker, that this country starts to take the education of our children much more seriously than is happening today. Honorable Speaker, what we find is that despite the CBC program having started literally 7 years ago, when it was time for junior secondary, we started learning around helter-skelter like a country that did not know that this date was coming. And even now, with the patchwork that allowed us to commence JSS in the primary schools, you find that we have again gone back and we are sitting on our laurels, not knowing what will happen by the time the next 2 years are over and it's time for our kids to join senior secondary. More importantly, is that nobody in this country, including the mandarins at the Ministry of Education, can give a clear, coherent roadmap on exactly what we are doing at junior secondary. And it is important, Honorable Speaker, that we do not fail our children. We've been speaking of a lost generation that has disappeared into alcohol and drug abuse. We are preparing at this pace another lost generation that is pursuing JSS unless we can put our acts together. Honorable Speaker, a lot of the JSS children, despite the hardships that are there, have not even been able to coherently and consistently attend school because the new JSS came with a new set of uniforms, new requirements for desks and chairs and books that parents had not been prepared for. And therefore it is important that this motion is taken very, very seriously by this House and the Ministry in terms of restoring order in our education system. Honorable Speaker, the current grading system at Form 4, Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education, is producing a wasted number of our young people in this country. Because when we analyze the KCSE performance, we find that barely 20% of our Form 4 students may attain the minimum university entrance grade. After that, another 28% attain the diploma college's admission grade. And therefore, we have about 15% of our school leavers at Form 4 competing for certificate and craft courses. And Honorable Speaker, the tragedy of this country is when we find that even a voluntary service like NYS requires our graduates to have a D plane at Form 4. What are we telling our young people in this country as legislators and leaders in terms of the plan we have for their future? And no wonder we have a crop of very many young girls and boys who are literally present in every shopping center in this country, saying they have nothing to do except indulge in cheap liquor and alcohol, that as a country and as a leadership, we have failed to curtail its production and distribution. We are poisoning our young people as we watch, as traders have taken our country hostage because they want to make money at any cost. The formulation of a coherent policy, clear and well understood by not only our students but also our parents, will give a clear roadmap for the desires of our young people. The sending home of our children in secondary schools has to stop as a policy in this country. The cost of uniforms varies from school to school. Why should there be a difference between the cost of uniform in secondary schools. The cost of the feeding program for lunch varies from school to school, even schools that are neighboring in the same town. If you go to NYERI Town constituency, a school known as DEB and a school known as Temple Road Primary, both of them, literally neighbors, have a different cost for lunch. And you find that the biggest burden today that parents of children in our schools are having is the cost of school feeding. And therefore, this policy must also begin to address the issues of the cost of feeding in our schools and also the cost of uniforms, as well as the cost of the construction of multipurpose halls, which have become a darling for all schools today, the funding of school buses, and therefore we need a clear government policy on the cost of some of these burdens that are being borne by our parents, largely jeopardizing the education and the future of our children. Honorable Speaker, SDG 4 requires us to ensure that our education is inclusive, equitable, and of the same quality. And therefore, the question that begs us as legislators is the quality of education offered at Kahumo High School in NYERI Town constituency same as the quality of education offered at Kehuyo Secondary School in my rural village? It is clear in our minds that the answer is no. Then how can we be signatories to the SDGs and then as leaders we sit and allow this kind of disparities to continue? When we come to the management of teachers, in NYERI Town constituency, which is largely a municipality, it was a municipality even before the new constitution came into place. I have teachers who are paid the enhanced house allowance for teachers working in municipalities, and another teachers in the same school, in neighboring schools, who are not being paid the enhanced house allowance. When you approach the management of teachers in the Teacher Service Commission, they want to pretend that they are not aware that these disparities are existing. And Honorable Speaker, it is time that some of these institutions that are managing the affairs, the important affairs of the country, like the Teachers Service Commission, should be invited in this House to answer questions from legislators. The question of the ministers coming in to answer for constitutional commissions and other bodies that are playing crucial roles in the affairs of our country should come to an end. For how long can we keep shielding these people while the problems keep piling? Honorable Speaker, what exam will the JSS...
Honorable Madenge, you probably know that under the rules we changed, the independent commissions answer questions at the committee level. Like all the commissions in this country is supposed to take their questions to the relevant committees.
Honorable Speaker, I am well guided. However, if all of us have an interest in when the Teacher Service Commission is appearing before the 15 members of the Education Committee, I am sure if this was open for us as friends of the committee, the members here would overwhelm the membership of the committee. And that is a weakness sometimes in our system that we need to be alive to and get to address. Honorable Speaker, in ending, what exam will the junior secondary students sit at the end of their 3 years? And how is that exam going to impact their advancement into senior secondary? Honorable Speaker, I support this motion, and Honorable Loko, this could not have come at a better time. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Member for Sirisia.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me a chance also to contribute on this important motion. Honorable Speaker, education is the key